Hi guys, I can see there are some of you watching. Give me a shout. Let me know if the sound is okay and if you can see me okay. You should be able to. I can see me on my pewters. So, hi Tex Meats. Hi Pete, lovely to see you. So, how are you all doing? Let me know how you're all doing. Sorry, I've got a bit of sinus stuff going on today. It's really annoying. So you're great. That's fabulous. I'm actually good as well. My car went in for its MOT today and it passed. I had it serviced at the same time, so it's cost me a lot of money, but at least it passed its MOT, so I've got it back today, which is brilliant. So yeah, I had to get up really early, which I don't like doing, and I missed most of Politics Social this morning, which I was also upset about. But after I dropped the car off, because the garage is only up the road, I decided, right, I'd go for my run straight after, and I did 5K, which I'm pleased with. It was a good run. It was nice and cool. It's a lot cooler now than it was over the last week, so that was quite a pleasant surprise. I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit. Sorry guys. Let me know if that's better. Hi Trip, lovely to see you. Hope all is good. Hope all is good. So I don't know if, I know that Reagan Elite is going live tonight, but I'm not sure what time. So yeah, I do apologize if Reagan Elite is live at the same time, but yeah, I've got, you know, I've got people watching from the other side of the world. So, you know, a bit later for them is better for them. They don't have to get up in the middle of the night. Pete's picking up loud and clear. Brilliant. Oh, good on the MOT front. Yeah, I know you asked me, I think this morning in the social, is my MOT okay? Well, when I was out running, they rang me, and because I thought the brakes might need doing. And I remember last year getting an advisory on the brakes, but to be honest, I don't use my car a huge amount. You know, I tend to stay local. I'm very much agoraphobic in the sense that I get very anxious around people, so I tend to stay in my home mostly, and then when I do go out, it's to places where I know. Oh, Reagan's on at 8 with One Angry Pagan. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Good. So I can watch that as well. So yeah, I normally stay local, or, you know, where I live, behind my house, it's fields, and then there's the wood. So I don't have to go, you know, through any sort of the village or anything. It's just a road up to the top, and then a little bit of a road, and then it's fields. So it's nice. I know it sounds weird not wanting to be around people, but I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and I think that I do react to some people in ways that, you know, they wouldn't understand. The one thing that I do like is there are dog walkers that go to the woods, but I know them. They, you know, as long as I've been going to the woods, they've been going to the woods, so I know them and the dogs. And there are new ones, but they, you know, I'm there pretty much every day. So yesterday I was off. Oh, yesterday I was feeling awful. I had a really bad stomach the night before. It's because of my hernia. It's because I have no gallbladder and I've got IBS, and it just all went, yeah, it all went upside down all at the same time. And so I thought, no, I'm not running. I was feeling tired, I was feeling exhausted, and I thought, no, I'll just, you know, stay in today. So I recorded a video this afternoon. Actually, I had a video to upload, and I was going to upload that, but then I saw something that really, really made me angry. And I'm going to discuss a bit of it now, but so I recorded a video on that and actually had to split it into 2 videos because it was just going to be too long, and my phone was playing up. I had no space on my phone, so I've had to go and delete a huge amount of videos and photos and stuff. Really need to do a backup of it all and get it somewhere on a cloud. So I saw this. I was going to do a video on witchcraft when I was in the shower. I always rehearse when I'm in the shower, sort of going over what I'm going to say in my head, and I'd written part of it anyway, but a lot of the time when I do my videos, I actually just speak. I do sometimes work off of a script, I do sometimes take notes, but most of the time it's just me going there. So, oh yeah, and it shouldn't, the Wi-Fi shouldn't go into the spinning mode, because I had to reboot my router the other day, because it wasn't picking up Wi-Fi on either of my phones. So I had to reboot my router, and that fixed the problem. So yeah, Trip, I did give myself an MOT yesterday. And if you see funny lights in front of me, it's the traffic going past outside. That obviously it's a bit dark today, isn't it? So people have probably got their lights on. So I want to talk about how women have been removed from history, and because it is actually quite infuriating as a woman to see this. You know, I got this book, Invisible Women. I started reading it, and it's just one of those, you know, still got loads to read, but the first chapter is like, whoa, this is intense. And so many women have been written out of history, and men have taken credit for the things that they did. You know, it is just, it's so infuriating. However, what really made me angry today was Tom Swarbrick was interviewing Jess Phillips on LBC. And Jess Phillips is the, she's the, I've got it up here, hang on a second, because I had to double check. It's got quite a long title. She's the Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls. So Jess is probably my most favourite MP. Every year she goes into the Commons and she reads out the names of all the women who have been unalived victims of femicide. That is, women who have been unalived by their partners, husbands, boyfriends, etc. And she does this to a virtually empty House of Commons, which makes me mad, because I honestly think that the people, the MPs should be forced to stay there while this is being read out, because the vast majority of MPs are, of course, males. Anyway, so he was interviewing her, and I'm going to read some of the comments that was on this interview. And I've actually read a few in the video that I've done. So there's 2 videos. One will be out. Hopefully I'll be able to upload it after this. And then the other one will be out tomorrow morning, once I've edited it and uploaded it. And because I've got no space on my phone, it is taking me ages to do this. So please bear with me, guys. This is why I've got you have a look at the first comment on here is one that I put up with a link to my GoFundMe page. So if any of you would like to donate towards the channel, towards me keeping this going, because I need to do much better quality videos. I'd really love to be able to do what Max and Graham and Reagan and all of them do, where they are able to show pictures of and footage of what, you know, what I'm talking about, rather than me talking about it and reading it off of the internet, because that obviously engages more people and it gives you a better idea rather than me going So yeah, I just, so if you would like to donate, please do. That money will be going towards, first of all, a camera. That is a necessity. The camera first. I do have a set of headphones already, but they do not have a microphone on them. Then it will be a proper microphone, and then software so that I can actually edit the videos on my laptop rather than editing them on my phone, because then I have to save them at a low resolution. It's a medium resolution because I can't save it at high resolution. It would just take up far too much space. And I do delete the videos afterwards. So it's not like I'm just leaving them on my phone. They get deleted. It's other stuff that's on my phone, cat photos, you know, photos and videos of my cats, videos of the gigs that I go to, which I also need to download to somewhere else, so that, you know, a lot of it's on here, but I need to, you know, put it somewhere else. I mean, YouTube could at any time delete my account. You know, that is a thing that YouTube do. Pete's hay fever, just discovered you have to stop your long-term antihistamine as you're now on dialysis. Oh, lot of suffering coming your way. You get force-fed pollen out on your Triumph. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Pete, just a couple of suggestions. The stuff that I used to do was I used to get some homeopathic drops that I used to put in my nose. So they should not interfere with the dialysis, but check with your doctor first. They helped me a huge amount when I lived in Johannesburg, a lot of smog in Johannesburg. And also you can try using a neti pot. It is not the most comfortable of things to do, but it does work, and you do get used to it over time. So a neti pot looks like a little teapot, and you fill it with lukewarm water and a couple of grains of Himalayan sea salt. You mix that up, and then you stick the spout up the one nostril, tilt your head and pour, and it comes out of the other nostril, and then you repeat it on the other side. So it actually cleans out the whole sinus passages. I know it sounds gross, but it works. It does work. So you may want to try that, Pete. Just, you know, have a go. You may not like it. It's a bit rubbish. You know, it does hurt at first because you sort of feel it in the back of your head. But then you do start to get used to it. But don't use cold water. Don't use cold water. Make sure it's lukewarm. And if you can, what I do is the water from the kettle. So I fill the kettle with filtered water from my jug, and then boil that water, leave it to sit until it's cool, and then add a bit of filter water to it so that it's, you know, the right temperature. Yeah, and you don't want it to scald the inside of your nostrils either. Anyway, so coming back to Jess Phillips and Tom Swarbrick. So he was interviewing Jess Phillips. Now I'm trying to find the full video. If anybody knows where it is, that'd be great. But Tom Swarbrick, not my most favourite journalist or interviewer or personality on LBC. He does lean towards the right, and he also doesn't sort of, you know, really delve into the questioning. When I was rehearsing this in my head, the video that I recorded earlier, because while I put my makeup on, I sit and talk at myself and what I'm going to say. And I could just hear Max in my head, Maximilian Robespierre, and just thinking, yeah, I'm furious. Because, you know, he rants, and my video turned into a rant, and I just understood this really just incensed me. It really, really did. Audacity is a great freeware editor. By the way, I've got the teapot and the H-Salt. Brilliant, brilliant. So try that. You know, it takes a lot of getting used to, but when you're used to it, it does work. Audacity freeware. The thing is, the videos are recorded on my phone. So, anyway, I will figure something out. But I'll keep that in mind. Audacity. Let me write that down. Notepad. Oh, pen. Have a pot full of pens when I'm studying. I go through them like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, the program that I use on my phone is actually free, and it's pretty good, to be honest, but there's a lot more that I want to do. So yeah. Hi Draka, lovely to see you. Hope you're doing well. So he was interviewing Jess Phillips. The first thing that came up was, and this is, I'm praising what he said. He said, there is, hang on, let me get the wording correct here. There is a, hang on, sorry guys, I'm just going to have to go to the video because at first he says 20% and then he says something else. Just bear with me. Sorry guys. Oh, where are the shorts? There we go. Okay. It looks like there's a couple more videos that have been uploaded now that she has done, so I'll watch those in a bit. Just bear with me. I just want to... Okay. What his words are is Afghans are 20 times more likely to be convicted for SA offences. I'm not going to dispute that. And it makes sense. However, there was no reasoning given to this, whatever. I don't know where this was from, these figures were from, so I don't know what report it was. So there was no sort of content as to where it was from. Now, that may be the case that 20% more Afghan men are convicted for SA crimes. Why is that? Doesn't mean that they commit 20 times more. It just means that they are convicted 20 times more. Do you see what I mean? So, let's say you have 100 men. 50 are Afghan, 50 are white. Doesn't matter what, sort of country or ethnicity they're from, but they're white. So you've got 50 Afghan, 50 white. The chances of all 50 of those white men going or being convicted of grape or SA is very slim. The chances of the 50 Afghan men being convicted of those charges is very high because of the colour of their skin and their ethnicity and their religion. Now, I would want to see the makeup of the jury. So, was the jury mostly women? Was it mostly men? What colour were they? What ethnicity were they? What religion were they? You know, something that I've been studying with my psychology degree is, the criminal side of psychology. So looking at jury duty was one of the major parts of the last module that I did. And something that came up over a lot of the cases that were tried and the people were found guilty was, well, was there sufficient evidence, but what was the breakdown of the jury? You know, if you are trying a black person, for example, then surely there should be an equal amount of black and white people in the jury, as well as a breakdown of men and women. And this was, the studying that I was doing was looking at the breakdown of a jury, from the past. So it was looking at there was more men in the jury than there were women in the jury. So, yes, I can well believe that Afghan men are 20 times more likely to be convicted of SA, DV, SV, and grape than other cultures, because of the way those cultures are viewed. It doesn't mean that those people who are not being convicted, the white men, and I'm using that term, have been, are not guilty. What it means is that they've been acquitted because perhaps there isn't enough evidence, and the vast majority of the reason will be because they are white, and it is white privilege. It is male privilege. And I hate to say these things, but it is true. It really is true. So he put her on the spot by asking her this question. And when I went to the comments, because she replied, her response was, he asked her, is it a cultural thing? And she said, well, what culture are you referring to? Misogyny and patriarchy is a part of every single culture. So Swarbrick then asked her, well, is our society misogynistic and patriarchal? Well, yes, it is. She didn't answer that, but she said, I will tell you the majority of the culture of the crimes of SADV, SV and grape are committed by men. And that is the problem. Hi Mithril, lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to read you some of these comments now. There seems to be more than when I was on earlier. I'll read you the response that I put on here. Nobody's replied to me yet. So I'm quite upset because I was hoping to have a mad furious typing session. I said, Jess is right. Men are the problem. It doesn't matter what religion, skin color, ethnicity or culture, they all hate women. Now, guys, I know I'm going to get backlash for saying that. But when we look at what a man expects of a woman, it is a mother, it is a slave, it is somebody who will listen to them. It is, you know, there's so much ingrained from patriarchy and misogyny into modern society, and I do actually talk about that in the video that I'll be uploading a bit later. It's 20 minutes long. Please give it a watch if you can. But it is, men may say they love their mothers, their grandmothers, their wives, their sisters. It's proof that I must love women. But the facts speak for themselves. Hi Elle, lovely to see you. The facts do speak for themselves. So I'll start up again with my response was, Jess is right, men are the problem. It doesn't matter what religion, skin colour, ethnicity or culture, they all hate women. They all want to dominate women. Please look at the figures and statistics. WHO, World Health Organization statistics, 1 in 3 women have been raped. That's worldwide. That's not just Western, that is worldwide. So I'm not saying that more white women are raped than women of another colour or ethnicity or culture or religion or belief. I'm just looking at it as a whole. Women are women. Women are half of the population of the planet, and yet we are still treated like poop. Rape crisis in the UK, 1 in 4 women are raped. Someone you know in your circle of friends of women has suffered at the fists of men. Someone you know. They may not have told you, you may not be aware of it, but someone you know has. And some more than once. This is a patriarchal and misogynistic world. So these comments, I'm going to read the people's names and let me know if you disagree with me, guys. I'd love to have a discussion about this. And I know that what I'm saying can be and can make people really reactive and volatile. Because I know we say not all men, and we know there are good men. We know that. However, we don't know which are good men and which are bad men because they don't wear signs. And also, all men will present themselves as good in a relationship at the beginning. Obviously, they would because they want to attract a woman. 3 months, 4 months, a year down the line, they then may well become abusive. So we know it's not all men, but we are asking that all men help us by calling out those men who do commit these crimes. And not just those crimes against your partner, your mother, your grandmother, your sister, but against all women. So if you're in a pub and your mate's going, oh, look at her, I give her one, and oh, she's asking for it, and, you know, takes advantage of a woman, and you see this happening, call them out. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to stand up against your friend for doing that. But if we allow that to keep on happening, it will keep on happening. So, Sean Weston says, exposed completely, despicable. So he's basically saying that Jess Phillips was denying the fact that Afghan men are 20 times more likely to be convicted. But the question was not phrased correctly. And Jess also didn't answer in the way that made sense either. So I was like, no, you have to take that apart. You have to pull it apart. You can't just look at that little clip and go, yeah, that's, that's how it is. Because as I've said, Afghan men may be 20 times more likely to be convicted, but that does not mean that the white men who have been acquitted, probably due to lack of evidence, were not guilty. It just means there wasn't enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to convict that person. Sorry, I'm just, your daughter, not SA, thank goodness, but violence and mental abuse from her stepdad. It's why she has PTSD. Yeah, Mithril, I know. It's awful. That's absolutely awful. Yeah. Has she gone for therapy about it? Has she got a support group around her that she can attend? That really does help. And it helps to understand that it's not your fault, because a lot of people who go through that kind of thing believe that they are to blame. That is in my, when I've had several experiences of different kinds of violence, SA, DV, SV and grape, and always believed it was my fault, but it's not. It was, they did it to me. I was the victim. She's pig-headedly stubborn, just like her dad. Okay. Yeah, I think that, maybe just try talking to her a little bit, sort of drop it in there every now and again. Get her to look it up online as well. Show her some stats and figures. Let her watch my channel. Maybe that'll help. Andy Bryce says, Jess Phillips understands the data when comparing men to women, but conveniently stops understanding it when comparing different countries. He wasn't comparing countries. And it's like comparing apples and oranges. The two are different. So you can have 80 apples, 20 oranges. Those apples get away with it because they're apples, but the oranges are guilty because they're oranges, if that makes sense. Somebody actually said something that made sense on one of these comments, was that you go and steal a TV from your mate. So you get the TV and then you sell the TV. Your mate then reports the TV as stolen, and he knows you've stolen it. So he reports the TV as stolen, but you've sold it on, so there's no evidence. But you know you stole that TV. That's the same with grape. The victim has to present the evidence. And the system is against women. It is completely against women. And that's what Jess Phillips is trying to do with her work, is to change the system so that it's more, accessible for women to get that conviction. Because when you go to court, a lot of women will not even report what's happened to them because they're just too embarrassed, afraid. They're afraid they're going to have to deal with a male cop. They're afraid they're going to be laughed at, that they're going to be not taken seriously. And they also think it's their fault. Especially if it's their partner. And the vast majority of grapes are from partners, not from strangers. So it's not about comparing different countries. It's about looking at the whole and saying, no, it's not just Afghan men. They will probably get more convictions because they are Afghan and because the jury will view them in that way. And whereas the white men won't get those convictions because the jury doesn't view them that way. The jury is more than likely to believe that she had it coming. She was drunk. Those tropes that we know so well. Sometimes she kind of gets too clinical. Allies get terms wrong. Oh, you're talking about Katie. Okay. My ex divorced him last year. He's pretty unpleasant to his own kids too. Yeah, some men are. Some men are. And the thing is, that perpetuates down through each generation because we learn from our experiences. This person, Melon Maniac, actually put a really great response here. When you ignore the root of the problem wins. And the root of the problem is men. Craig Sims says, what a state, she don't give a poop. And it's all men that are not looking at this with critical thinking. They just hear that 20 more times and not questioning why are those crimes that the Afghan men commit 20 times more likely to end up in a conviction. Why? Doesn't mean that the other perpetrators are innocent. What it means is that some of them didn't even end up in court. And again, about the jury and the equality on the jury, the evidence that was presented. Also, when we look at money issues, you know, white men are more likely to be able to afford a good lawyer. Afghan men, not so. There's so much here that needs to be looked at rather than saying that Afghan men, you know, do this more than white men. Because that's what this is. This is stirring up race hatred. It is stirring up race hatred when we just need to look at the whole situation and say, no, it's not to do with race, it's to do with men. And I get so mad. Martin says, that's a great way to run a country, dodge questions and pretend things aren't happening. No, she knows things are happening. She knows things are happening. It's not about, again, it's not about the 20 times more likely to be convicted. It's the fact that the 20 less times of likely being convicted of the white men is due to the fact that they have white male privilege. Sorry. Actually, this person puts a really good response in here, but also just quickly scanning over it, there's still more that needs to be looked at here. Very Stripy Zebra says, no, Afghans make up 0.125% of the population. 20% of 0.125% is 0.005%. This doesn't even take into account how many of those Afghans are women, which will be very, very small because we know that women do not commit those things to the level that men do. It's, you know, no matter how many men will say, but women do it too, we know that happens and we hate that as well. We detest that and it shouldn't happen. But the vast majority is committed by men. It is about resources. All victims deserve justice. But yeah, let's concentrate on foreigners. And that's it. The stirring of the pot, like, oh, no, it's them over there that do it. Not me here, not me, the white man, but them over there that do it. Another one says, nice try, but you're twisting what he said into something he didn't say. That makes no sense whatsoever. I wonder why. It was a gotcha question. This is politics. Nice try and pretending it's just a chat down the pub. You know, these people who are responding, these men who are responding, are not critically thinking about the bigger picture and not listening to what the words were that were said. Fail, fail, fail in your exams. Let's have a look at some more here. Foghorn Leghorny, I love that name, says, as a man, I couldn't agree with her more, totally. Glenn says, Jess Deflection Phillips, the failing for women minister. No, she isn't failing for women. I put a response, I said, how? Men are the problem, doesn't matter what culture they are. Not heard back yet. You know, ready for a fight, ready with my keyboard. 120 words a minute. Spudgun says, does she seriously have no understanding of statistical evidence? Why do they continue to put our loved ones at risk? Okay, Spudgun doesn't understand statistical evidence. And actually, Sirius Moran went and said, you can make statistics lie very easily by being selective. Exactly what this is and the way that it was worded. There was no comparison made between these two things. SRFS Summers says, she is literally the epitome of misandry while accusing the world of misogyny. Her gloating smile at the end, pathetic. No, it wasn't a gloating smile. I'm going to link these videos into the description when this is uploaded later. Again, using my phone, it takes ages to do anything. The world is a misogynistic world. Who do we have in power of the world? Donald Trump. Now, yes, I know he's American, he's the president of America, but really he's in charge. And everybody follows what he says and does. The man is white or orange, but he's white and he is a convicted rapist. So all or any white male rapist out there thinks that, oh, well, he does it, so can I. I'm going to get away with it. And that is what happens. Charles Watson, actually, this is one that I went and agreed with. Look at the figures and you can see exactly who are the problem. And yeah, all the people that went on here replied men, men, men. Carl says, tell me you want the Muslim vote without telling me you want the Muslim vote. And again, it is just the way that that question was asked, the way that it was presented was twisted deliberately to get clicks on their website. This is misinformation, and maybe we should, contact the ombudsman and say, you know what, this is wrong. This is actually false information, because it is false. It's just cherry picked a little bit there and said, oh, 20 times more likely. And people are, oh, 20 times, look at that. They're 20 times more likely to commit. No, not commit, convict, to be convicted. Sorry, just going to read some comments. I had this, Mithril says, I had this argument with someone long ago, not too long ago. They read The Hail and the Excess, yeah. Yes, Silver Surfer decided to go with a female version. Yeah, and it's the same as when they changed Thor from a man to a woman. There's actually some stuff that I want to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to get round to it today's live, but yeah, the comments were gross. Surfer not ironing board. She should really be in the kitchen. Yeah, that's another trope, isn't it? Women belong in the kitchen. You should have babies, barefoot and pregnant, ball and chain. All of those things are patriarchal, misogynistic terms that have been ingrained into society. It has been said so many times by so many men that even women repeat it. And they are unaware that they're saying those things. In my video that I'm going to be uploading later on, I say something that it's a phrase that I loathe. Rule of thumb. The term rule of thumb comes from the fact that men could beat their wives with a stick no wider than the width of their thumb. That's what the term means. I don't know what else I can say. It has been put into, you know, common language. And somewhere in our lizard brain, it is still there. Hi, Stephen. Lovely to see you. Can't stay, but got a chance to nip on and leave. Thank you. Got a like. Thank you. Some of these people are so desperate. Yeah. Galacticus Herald can be anyone. It doesn't have to be, what's his name? Corin. I'm not sure what you're on about, Trip. It's sick. Yeah. That is what rule of thumb means. You can look it up. It was actually in the movie Boondock Saints. One of my favourite movies. Brilliant movie. Hang on a second, just need a sip of water. I'm just going to read a few more of these comments before I get on to what I did actually want to speak about. Oh, and now I've lost it. Because I did want to talk about something else as well. Scrolling down. Mike says, she is part of the problem, a huge part. Shocking, what a response, another man. Stuart says, she's right about men, Afghan men. No, it's all men. And then another person, George, has gone on to say, not just Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, etc. It seems to be Muslim men, border farce, ferry into Britain. Again, the critical thinking here, it's just men. Russell says, Jess Phillips categorically knows this to be fact. She doesn't have to look up any data. Yes, 20 times more likely to be convicted because they are Afghan, they're not white. Yeah, and all of these people are pretty much men. Actually, Chucky says, I'd be careful about talking about percentage of convictions. And he wasn't actually talking about percentages. He said 20 times more likely. So it wasn't 20% more. It was 20 times more likely in any context when only 1% of rapes result in a conviction. And that's true. That is very true. Another person says, she's thinking, how can I skew this into blaming Andrew Tate? Well, he's got a lot to do with it. Let's put it that way. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there because there was another clip from this same interview, and it was about the conviction and the sentence that was given to the two blokes who cut down the tree. They were given 4 years. So Swarbrick asked her, you know, is that fair? Because a 17-year-old boy was acquitted of graping a 13-year-old girl. I don't know their ethnicity, it doesn't say, but I will bet 99.9% that it was a white boy. And I will also bet 99.9% that the jury was mostly white and possibly mostly female. Well, we can't ruin his life. He's got such a life to live. How many men have been let off of these crimes because they're young? There was the case in Belgium. There's the case in the States where they were found guilty of grape. And the judge said, no, I'm not going to give you any sentence because you're young and you know, going to ruin your life. Do you know that phrase, going to ruin your life? Women say it. I said it when I was interviewed by the police and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go to court. I want to prosecute. And And then we add on, but I don't want to ruin their life. Meanwhile, they've ruined your life. Let me have a look at some more comments. Okay, we're talking a lot about D&D, so yeah. Okay, so we're talking about D&D. I used to play D&D years ago. I was a 12th level druid. I won the game. I got the dragon's orb, turned into a griffin and flew away after killing the dragon. All the other people died because I had all these spells, you see. No. Giving 4, and I know Graham was talking about this morning on Politics Social, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that giving them 4 years for chopping down a tree is a bit daft, even though it was an iconic tree that's been in many movies, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And I agree with Graham, rather let them go and plant trees for the rest of their life every day. But the prison sentences that rapists get is so small. In my opinion, it should be life. I do sometimes think that if things were the other way round, if men had vaginas and women had, you know, penis, that it would be that women would be imprisoned for life. That's, yeah. So I do think that rapists do not receive the correct form of punishment. I think that male rapists should have vasectomies. I think that they should, you know, be forced into some sort of part of the prison that deals with that and not put in general population. And yeah, I do think that they should be given life. I really do. Anyway, the video was actually supposed to be about women who have been written out of history. So, invisible women. So this is what I was reading a couple of days ago. In 1839, the composer Clara Schumann wrote in her diary, "I once thought I possessed creative talent, but I have given up this idea. A woman must not desire to compose. Not one has been able to do it, and why should I expect to?" The tragedy is Schumann was wrong. Women before her had been able to do it, and they included some of the most successful, prolific and influential composers of the 17th and 18th centuries. It's just that they didn't have a broad name recognition, because a woman pretty much has to die before she's remembered. Or her work is consigned to being done by that of a man. Felix Mendelssohn, his sister, he published 6 of her pieces under his own name. For years, classical scholars argued that the Roman poet Sulpicia, I think it's Sulpicia, couldn't possibly have written the verses signed with her name. They were too good, not to mention too smutty. Why couldn't she have written them? I mean, look at the woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. Absolutely awful book. Just reading some more here. I should have underlined this, but I was so busy being angry at Tom Swarbrick earlier. Judith Lester, one of the first Dutch women to be admitted to an artists' guild, was renowned in her time, but after her death in 1660, she was erased. Her work attributed to her husband. In 2017, new works by 19th century artist Caroline Louisa Daly were discovered. They had been previously attributed to men, one of whom was not even an artist. This is how women have been written out of history. Now, women can't do that. They're just not capable of that. They're just cooks and mothers and doormats and punching bags. At the turn of the 20th century, award-winning British engineer, physicist and inventor Hertha Ayrton remarked that while errors overall are notoriously hard to kill, an error that ascribes to a man what was actually the work of a woman has more lives than a cat. She was right. Textbooks still routinely name Thomas Hunt Morgan as the person who discovered that sex was determined by chromosomes rather than environment, despite the fact that it was Nettie Stevens' experiments on mealworms that established this. Perhaps the most famous example of this kind of injustice is Rosalind Franklin, whose work she had concluded via her X-ray experiments and unit cell measurements that DNA consisted of 2 chains and a phosphate backbone, led James Waterson and Francis Crick, now Nobel Prize-winning household names, to discover DNA, but she discovered it already. Now, Kate Mann, who wrote, Caroline Criado Perez, who wrote this book, was responsible for getting Jane Austen onto the banknote. Prior to that, every face on the banknotes had been men, obviously besides the Queen. You know, we're talking about besides the Queen. But every face on the banknote that had been put on there had been men. She fought to get Jane Austen put on there. Yeah. It is George Eliot. Yes, Mithril, George Eliot was actually a woman. Yeah. The Bronte sisters published originally under male names as well, male pseudonyms as well, and I cannot for the life of me remember the names they used. Bell. Arthur Bell, I think it was, but A. Bell, I think, was the surname that they used. Bell, B-E-L-L. Wuthering Heights is my favourite book of all time. Sorry. L, drink more water, cranberry juice helps. Yes, cranberry juice does help. Went away to pee and nothing happened. Yeah, cranberry juice definitely helps. But pure cranberry juice, not the concentrated stuff that in that ocean spray stuff, that's not pure. That's concentrate. So why are women written out of history? Well, it's misogyny. It is due to bias against women. Men don't want to be seen as less than. Something interesting here as well, that in 2013, British tennis player Andy Murray was lauded across the media for ending Britain's 77-year wait to win Wimbledon, when in fact Virginia Wade had won it in 1977, and I remember watching that on the TV. 3 years later, Murray was informed by a sports reporter that he was the first person ever to win 2 Olympic tennis gold medals. Murray correctly replied that Venus and Serena have won about 4 each. So, yeah, even when we look at football, look at the women's, you know, the Lionesses. They have won European trophies, and yet men will say they're not as good as. They're not as good as male players. It would be interesting to see those men that say that play against them, wouldn't it? You know, I'm pretty sure that most of those men that say that are the kind of men that sit there watching TV with their feet up and have a massive beer belly. Okay, it's an assumption, so not all men have a dad bod, but, you know, could they play football like that? If they could, wouldn't they already be playing or have been playing in a team? Just saying. Mithril, last time I watched tennis was Virginia Wade's Wimbledon win. Yeah, it was a good match. It really was a good match. I used to like watching Wimbledon back then. Tracy Austin, I don't know if you remember Tracy Austin. I think she used to wear the frilly pants underneath the dresses because they weren't allowed to wear shorts back then. So they wore those, like baby rubbers that used to go over nappies when nappies were cloth nappies and not Pampers. Used to put rubbers on, and they used to have like frilly bits on. And I know that women used to wear that in tennis, and I sort of thought that looked nice. But I mean, I actually run in tennis skirts with the shorts underneath. I prefer the skirt. I find it more comfortable than wearing shorts. That's just my own taste. We all have, most runners have their favorite outfit that they wear for, running specific race. For races, I have, this is what I'm going to wear. Must get a new pair of socks actually for September. Because I've got 10 pairs of running socks. Well, I've got more than that. I've got my old ones, so there's 10 pairs of those and 10 pairs of my new ones. But because I'm wearing them every day, they're crispy now. So I need to get new ones because then they're nice and soft for a couple of times and then they go crispy. Somebody asked me on a feed as well, on a post, no, it's a public toilet. Oh no. Oh, you mean nothing happened in the public toilet? Brilliant. Brilliant. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. I can tell you now that if I was in a public toilet and there was a trans woman in there with me, I would be supporting her and making sure that nobody did anything. That's, Mithril, I'm interested in rallying cars driving madly in the countryside, and although she never won, Michelle Mouton is recognised as a world-class rally driver. There was a female Formula One driver, wasn't there? And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was last year or the year before, that there was a woman that was trying out for Formula One as well. But again, it comes down to misogyny and, of course, money. When it comes to racing, it's all about money. Because, the boys start in the formulas below. So it's Formula GTI and I can't remember the rest of them now. A guy I was in a relationship with for a long time raced Formula GTI, and so I used to go to a lot of the racing. Used to love it. I do like driving fast. Can't drive fast here. Not so much written out, more not written about nurses in World War One, no VCs, but there you can imagine their contribution. Yes, and actually as I was looking things up, I had half an hour before I came live because I had to go pick up my car and my video would not convert. And so as I was looking, there were women who flew Spitfires in World War II. Let me find her name. I did actually find an article. The Spitfire women. When many people think about pilots in World War II, they will imagine a dashing young man flying a Spitfire or a Lancaster bomber. However, in many ways, the most daring pilots were the women who worked in the Air Transport Auxiliary. The Spitfire women, or Atta girls, delivered planes to the RAF and flew without any supporting defence. These women also had to fight the ingrained sexism as they challenged the prevailing gender norms of the early 20th century. Called the Spitfire women, the pilots flew different planes in the war, including Lancaster bombers. Despite working in very dangerous and challenging conditions, these women were rarely recognised as heroes of the war, even though they worked tirelessly for their country. Women get written out of history because men. Because men have to be seen as strong. Men have to be seen as the hero. Let me see, there's another one here. Henrietta Leavitt, or Leavitt, but I think it's Leavitt. Another brilliant scientific mind was that of Henrietta Leavitt, 1868 to 1921, the American astronomer. She worked at Harvard, but being female was not permitted to work with real telescopes. Neither was granted the status of full researcher. Yet despite being relegated to data analysis, she discovered a method of measuring astronomical distances on the intergalactic scale. Her work at the time was largely ignored, and it was not until after her death that the famous male astronomer Edwin Hubble used her findings in his work, showing that the fuzzy nebulae were in fact distant galaxies and that the universe was expanding. Hubble himself said of Henrietta Leyser that she deserved the Nobel Prize for her work. He had the famous telescope named after him, but his work would not have been possible had it not been for Henrietta's discoveries. And that, you know, that is how women are just forgotten and pushed aside. So I'm going to, as I read more of this, I'm going to do more videos on this. I think what I'm going to do is make sort of Thursday my discussion about women's rights, misogyny, patriarchy, and so on. And Monday my what's going on videos, because, you know, just looking at various stories that I try and look at stories that have not been covered by other people, because I like a lot of scientific stuff. You know, I like to look at stuff that's happening in the universe. And there was a discovery of another planet, actually, but its orbit is really, really strange. It has a really strange orbit. I'll try and talk about that on Sunday. And on Sunday, I want to do my stuff and nonsense videos, because I enjoy just talking about stuff and nonsense. But this afternoon, I was going to record a video about witchcraft. That didn't happen because I was angry at the whole attack on Jess Phillips and the fact that these blokes, excuse me, who were commenting could not actually see how the question had been put to make it sound like that was the case. That, you know, to make it sound like more Afghan men commit SV, SA, DV and grape than white men, when it's completely wrong. Completely wrong. I wish that Jess Phillips had been a bit more on her toes this morning when she was interviewed about that, because she could have turned around and said 20% more are convicted because of racial hatred. That would have been my response. Let's have a look. Sorry. Sorry, just scrolling back up. Sisters, yes, Elle, definitely sisters. Not so much, oh, sorry, go away, whatever that is. Oh no, I've lost that now, there we go. Not so much written out. Oh yes, the sisters. I mean, we remember certain women, don't we? Like Florence Nightingale, Joan of Arc, Boudica, we remember them. But Florence Nightingale was a sort of, you know, this is what a nurse should be like. She should give up everything to nurse. And of course, now we have male nurses as well, which I think is great, because, you know, I think there should be, you know, a mix of men and women. It's equality. It's not about, you know, yes, we know that men can lift heavier weights than women. We know this. It's not about that. But unfortunately, a lot of men, when you're talking about equality, will say, oh, but you need men to lift things. I saw a video recently of a woman with a truck, and she had a quad bike, a small quad bike. I think it was her kid's quad bike. She put the kid into the truck. It was a double cab truck with a flatbed at the back. And she had created a way of getting the quad onto the back of the truck. So she had a piece of wood that she pulled down. It had a bar on the bottom. Painted on it was Mother Trucker. And she got the, put like bungee cords onto the front of the quad and tightened them, you know, tightened them with a lever, and it pulled the bike onto the wood, and then she fastened it at the back, tightened that, and the wood went up and she got it into the car. She didn't need the help of a man. I'm not saying that we don't need the help of men. You know, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that women would come up with an idea to do something if the necessity was there. Car racing is funny. The 1950s saw lots of great women drivers, including Pat Moss, Sterling's sister. I didn't know he had a sister that raced. Motorbike racing, which is my thing, has more of a problem with women. Okay. I don't know many female bikers. Well, I know when I used to bike back in the day, it was all male bikers. There were very few female bikers. And I actually wanted to start a club, but hey, it didn't happen. OMD taught you about Joan of Arc. Pete's, sorry, what I know is this: a lot of people struggle with comments that don't come up on Politics Social. It's not the individual. I think the channel is being muted, not any individual. A lot of the time as well with comments, go into held. There's a held section and certain words are flagged, and he probably can't go into the held section to allow those comments to come through. But like you say, yeah, there, because Graham's got a big channel, he will probably be monitored more. I mean, I'm not monetized, so I'm not really monitored that much, but I do get comments that go into held, and those comments I do allow to come through. There was only one comment ever that I deleted because it was incredibly nasty towards me, and I just thought no. Lenora Carrington, a brilliant surrealist born very close to where I lived most of my life, nearly forgotten now. I will have to go and look up some of her work. The female delivery pilots, Spitz, taught low-level flying to the boys. Being unarmed, they had to fly ultra-low to avoid getting attacked, so became experts at it. Oh, goodness, comments have just jumped up. Sorry, guys. Pete's, a lass from my town, Sammy Tasker, races motorcycles. She rides a pink bike. The lads in the paddock gave her a really rough time until she blew them all into the weeds. She's deadly. Brilliant. 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 The same lads had to eat a lot of humble pie. I bet they did. Yeah, deleted is different. I don't know why, I honestly don't know why. I don't know enough about the feed and that. You know, I am watching a couple of channels now on how to increase your YouTube presence and so on. It's just finding time. You know, running is my thing at the moment. I'm really dedicated to my running. I've got another race coming up in September. It's a 10K. And it's in the Peaks in Derbyshire on the Mons Trail. Mons Trail. Yeah, it's on a trail. It's near Bakewell. And so I'm doing that. And I'm hoping that my family will be able to come over from Liverpool. They're hoping to book a... because I don't know when the kids go back to school, because my niece and nephew are no longer in school. But they're hoping to book a... one of these places in a park, like a lodge type of thing, so that my mum can come with them as well. Unfortunately, my house has got stairs. My mum can't use stairs anymore, so using the bathroom would be impossible for her. And of course, my sister wants to bring the dog and can't have the dog here because of the cats. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they'll be there so that they can shout for me at the end as I do my final sprint after walking for the 10Ks. But today my 5K went well. It was my slightly faster than normal, which was surprising because I felt it was slower than normal. I just took my time with today. I just sort of took my time. But I do think that the electrolytes that I'm now drinking are helping. What I did yesterday was I mixed up the electrolytes in a 500ml bottle. and then poured most of it into my running bottle, which has got a handle on for 5Ks. When I do longer, I have to use my backpack thing with the bladder in. But so then I froze that, so it's nice and cold, and then I put the rest of the stuff in this morning. So it's sort of, I've got that little bit of liquid to start with, and then that ice makes it nice and cold to drink. So yeah, my running is really important to me. But then there's so many other things that interest me as well. I mean, I'm doing the end of the month we have Lamas, which is the first of the harvest festivals in witchcraft, and I'm doing a ritual for that. I'm hoping that it will be filmed, and then I can load it up onto my YouTube channel as well, so that you can see me in action and what I actually do. Then it's Bloodstock the week after. Then there is another festival that I'm going to, which is a warrior weekend festival. So I'm going as a fairy. But yeah, because I ordered some pink stuff off of Shine, whatever it's called, last night. And because on the Friday at Bloodstock, they have the Sophie Day for the goth girl that was unalived. And so everybody wears a bit of pink or dresses up in pink. So I've got a whole pink outfit. Well, it's goth. It's goth. There will be pink with the goth stuff. So I will take photos and you'll get to see. I'm not going to tell you what it looks like, but I've got to try it on first when it arrives. So yeah. Mithril, you spent 2 hours in a doctor's trying to help you with the breathing problems. Mithril, what breathing problems do you have? I've got COPD. And I was a yoga instructor and a long distance swimmer and now a long distance runner. And my lungs are in pretty good condition because my COPD was picked up on x-rays. I was having problems while running. I was coughing. And Mithril, what festival was that? Let me have a look. If you know, maybe have a look at yogic practices of breathing, different styles of breathing, yogic practices. Lots of free apps online for that. German festival. The main stage. Oh, Tomorrowland main stage, 10 hours ago. 400,000 fans begin arriving today after the blaze burns down the main stage. Oh, whoa. That's awful. Let's have a look at Sky News rather than the red tops. Tomorrowland, devastating blaze destroys main stage at major festival 2 days before it was due to begin. The event is famous for its immersive and elaborate designs and attracts big names, including David Guetta, Swedish House Mafia, and Eric Prydz and Alok. Okay, I don't know. I've heard of David Guetta, but Fire in Belgium, not Germany, Belgium. Tomorrowland is a dance music event as big as Glasgow, and Dave Guetta was due to perform. Footage showed flames and thick plumes of black smoke engulfing the stage and spreading to nearby woodland on Wednesday. Oh, that's awful. That's absolutely awful. The annual festival in the town of Boom, north of Brussels, is one of the biggest in Europe and attracts about 400,000 people over 2 consecutive weekends. Wow, that's a big festival. It is famous for its immersive and elaborate designs and attracts big names within dance music, including Guetta, best known for tracks When Love Takes Over and Titanium. Dutch DJs Martin Garrix and Charlotte de Witt were also due to perform, along with the likes of Swedish House Mafia, Eric Prydz and Alok. The festival's website described the creative elements which went into the elaborate main stage. Okay, it doesn't have anything to say what started it or if it will still... Oh, hang on. Organisers said no one was injured in the blaze, but confirmed our beloved main stage has been severely damaged, adding they were devastated. Spokesperson Debbie Wilmson added, "We've received some truly terrible news today. A fire broke out on the Tomorrowland site and our main stage was essentially destroyed there, which is truly awful. That's a stage that took years to build with so much love and passion, so I think a lot of people are devastated." Despite the fire, Tomorrowland organisers said they were still expecting 38,000 festival goers at Dreamville, the event's campsite. So I'm sure something will go ahead and happen, but it doesn't say any more on it. That's all I've got there. So yeah, so you've got lifelong asthma, COPD, emphysema starting to show. You're in great nick. Mithril, I'm trying to think. Hang on, looking for a couple of books here. This woman, Sandra Sabatini, I met her, absolutely amazing yoga teacher, and she teaches breathing with yoga and various techniques. And these are the sort of images, I don't know if you can see that there. I know this is reversed for you guys because I'm recording on my phone, but it's absolutely brilliant and teaching you how to breathe. Now, I know you have your problems. I don't know if you're on oxygen, but doing these things will help. She's got a DVD called The Smiling Breath, not a DVD, a CD called The Smiling Breath, which I use, which is really, really helpful. So there are certain breathing techniques out there that can help strengthen your diaphragm and hopefully help you to breathe a little bit better. You're not on O2 yet. Yeah. Mithril, I will have a look for some other videos on, for some other stuff on yogic breathing. Another good type of yoga to look at is Kundalini yoga, because they actually focus on breath work. Sivananda yoga as well. Ignore the postures, they're ridiculous, difficult postures, but the breath work is phenomenal because it focuses on the diaphragm and how to open the lungs and how to make sure you breathe into the full part of the lung. A lot of us, sorry, I've now become the yoga teacher. Sorry, guys. A lot of us breathe into the top part of our lungs only. So when we breathe, we shallow breathe. So it's only this part of our lungs that we use. But then, if we breathe into the middle section of our lungs, the middle section of our lungs expands. And we can empty the middle section. And then we can breathe into the full part of the lungs and allow that air to escape slowly, slowly, slowly. So I think because, given that you're a smoker, yeah, it would be considered a fire hazard. Mithril, I used to smoke 30 a day. I quit in 2007, 8, round about the Christmas period there. But yeah, after all those years of smoking, it's, I can feel it, and I know as well, 13 years ago when I was really seriously running and my times were a lot better before my COPD was found, my speed was brilliant, my breathing was brilliant, but then I also was as thin as a rake. And now, but the running has helped immensely. It really, really has, because I get into a rhythm with the running, with my steps and the breath. 2 in, 2 out, 2 in, 2 out. So it's 2 steps in, 2 steps out, 2 steps in, 2 steps out. And then sometimes if I start to get tired, I do what I call 3 deep breaths. And that just allows the oxygen to get further into the muscles, because obviously oxygen goes into the blood and that goes into the muscles. And if we don't have enough oxygen in our muscles, we get cramps. And touch wood, my desk is wood, I haven't had cramps for this entire time of running, which is unusual. I used to get really dreadful cramps before. I'm glad you're not on O2 yet though, But yeah, have a look at different breathing techniques, and there are things that you can practice. Also, a salt pipe inhaler. I've got one in, I'm not going to go get it now, but next time I'll try and remember to bring it with me, and then I can show you what it looks like. But it's like a pot pipe, looks a bit rude, but you put Himalayan salt inside it, and that helps you breathe, and it really does work. The Himalayan salt mines, people go there for breathing. They actually go there for breathing. So yeah, more of a right whale than an orca. Okay. Is that a sativa? What, Himalayan salt? No. No, it's the pink salt. I've got a bag full in my cupboard there. But yeah, those breathwork techniques, you know, just try them. If they help you, great. If they don't, then you can forget about them. But I do practice my breathing techniques a lot. It's without that, I wouldn't be able to run. When I first started running last year, I'd started walking because I had an injury. I still got an injury on my ankle. I'd broken my leg, and then I'd started going through rehab with the guys. Started doing physiotherapy, so I was given exercises to do, and most of it was actually on my toes, lifting up heel raisers and not putting the heel back down. And I have to wear, I used to walk barefoot all the time, but I need to have my heels slightly raised now, so I can't wear high heels anymore. I don't do those anymore, so I wear comfy granny sandals. I do have boots for when I'm going out, but not with heels. So I do these exercises which help with that. And when I started walking first of all. So I walked, it was probably about a 2.5 kilometer distance, and I was walking with a stick because I could barely stand. I could barely walk. I couldn't get out of a chair without using my stick. And then that increased, and I remember recording myself, and I'd be talking on Facebook to my friends, and they'd be like, "Debbie, you're really puffing and panting, and you're just walking." I'm like, "I know, I'm so unfit." And then I started to lose weight. I got into the NHS weight loss program and the exercise program, and then I thought, you know what, I can actually start walking faster, and I did. And then I started running in between the walking, so 100 steps of running. Then walking, so I did, like, on that 2.5k walk, I would do 3 lots of 100 steps of running. Then I increased it to 150, and then I increased it until now I'm running 5k flat out, and then 10k with some walking, you know. And that is, and I've lost weight. My pulse rate is down to resting pulse rate of 52. My blood pressure's still a little higher than I'd like it, and my breathing oxygen level is between 97 and 99. So it is possible that we can reverse that if we want to. And Mithril, my biggest advice, and I know you're going to hate this. I know you're going to hate this. Quit smoking. I know it's hard. I'm that kind of person that I did it without anything. I didn't have chewing gum, I didn't have the patch, I didn't have the injection or anything. I just quit. But I couldn't afford it. When I moved here from South Africa, you know, I couldn't afford it. And also the cigarettes in the UK taste vile. They have so many more chemicals in them than the ones in South Africa, and they were so much cheaper over there. When I moved over, I came over with a box of, a carton of Marlboro, what was I smoking? Marlboro Lights at the time. So I used to smoke Chesterfield and Camel. And Camel Plain as well, so with no filters. But yeah, if you can, try to quit smoking. It will make a massive... The first 2 weeks are hell, and you're going to cough. But swap it for water. So every time you feel like that cigarette, sip of water. It's that same hand movement. Because the other thing is as well, if you stop smoking, you're probably going to gain weight. You always have pink salt and use it frequently in rituals. Oh, Mithril, are you pagan? Well, with a name like Mithril, I would imagine so. Oh, that's wonderful. Let me know what rituals you do. Actually, as I said, I'm going to be doing some witchcraft videos that I want to talk about coming up. Well, I was going to record today, but that didn't happen, so I'll probably be recording over the weekend. I got my strimmer set up yesterday, so that's number one priority, is to get in the garden and strim, and then I need to wash my car. But then recording the witchcraft videos. I actually have written a book. It's never been published. It is written, it's done, and I'm thinking of teaching it, but I'll see. I don't know, because I start studying again in October, so it's like that, you know, and then I'm on to my level 2, and that is going to take up a huge amount of time. It's going to take up so much of my time, this one, and I want to do my PhD. But now I'm also thinking maybe I should switch to humanities and start studying gender studies. I can always add it on later on. Yeah, I'm not on the Discord server either, but I am thinking of setting up Discord with my thing, all sorts of things that I need to do. It's just finding the time to do it. I wasn't on Instagram, then 2 people said go there. I've got 2 on Discord, Reagan Elite and blah. First step, download it, go from there. Graham is being monitored. I have no doubt I can speak freely elsewhere. So Mithril, really basic. You're an utter noob, but it's where my heart calls me. Good for you. Good for you. It doesn't matter if you're new or experienced. You learn something new every single day. Every day, I do. The best way for me to be in contact with the goddess and God and with the elements is being in nature, and my run is that connection. When I run, I notice feathers on the floor. There was a lovely white feather. I don't stop to pick them up. Sometimes I do if it's like a special feather. Sometimes I find owl feathers or pheasant feathers, and if I find a raven or a crow feather, I stop to pick it up. But yeah, there was a white feather, and I know that's my dad saying you're doing the right thing with the running, and pebbles and stones and crystals. And in fact, this was going to be discussed in the Stuff and Nonsense crystals, and I was going to use quartz crystal. This is part of my quartz crystal collection, so you know, there's a whole thing on crystals. I teach crystals. I read crystals. I read tarot cards. I am a Reiki master, and all of that I put into my witchcraft, and I do it. I follow the Celtic path. My chosen deity is Morrigan, the Phantom Queen, the Dark Queen. I love her. But I work with various pantheons and different goddesses and gods, and depending on what the ritual is called for and what I feel connected to at the time. But just explore and enjoy it, and try not to put too much pressure onto yourself when doing it, and like people, oh, you must do this and you must do that and you must do the next thing. It's good to learn those things, but then take from that what works for you. Just looking at my book collection here. One of the best books that I found, which is more of the modern sort of witchcraft, is Grimoire for the Green Witch, Anne Murrah. She's actually really good. There's quite a lot of her books that she has done that have various things in that you might find helpful. So that's always a good one to look at. And then Janet and Stuart Farrer are, well, not Stuart. Stuart's no longer with us. He's passed over to Summerland. But Janet Farrer is now married to Gavin Bone, and I was lucky enough to be in Ritual Circle with them. And the Witch's Bible. Grab yourself a copy of that. Try and get second-hand copies if you can, if they're good quality. But this gives you so much information, and it's, you know, a lot of it is old, but it's good to start with the old. She was ordained by Alexander, what was his name? Graham Alexander, Alexandrian Wicca. I'm not a Wiccan, I'm a witch. But yeah, those are the sort of couple of books that I would recommend that you get hold of. But you know, go with your gut, go with what feels right for you. And if you can, try and get to a pagan festival over the for the Sabbats. We've got Lammas coming up the 1st of August, so, and then we have Mabon, the autumn equinox, and then Samhain, what we all know as Halloween. So for Mabon, I am going to Thornborough Henge, which is North Yorkshire. It's near Ripon. Sort of between Ripon and Thirsk. It's a town called, West Tanfield is the closest town, and then Thornborough's a little village, but it's one of the biggest henges in the UK, and it's over 5,000 years old. Cynnu Nos yn Cerridwen, definitely, and try Brigid, she's also brilliant. So you're more into the Celtic gods and goddesses, that's brilliant. You're sat at a bar and a band is playing Like a Hurricane. Oh, I love the Mission. I've seen them so many times. So many times. Absolutely love them. Mithril, I did mineralogy and crystallography at uni. It put me off crystals for God. Oh, I love them. I absolutely love them. I love finding out about the, you know, the actual composition of them and how they're formed and created. And yeah, bit of a geek. But then, having lived in South Africa and having such easy access to so many different types of crystals. I used to get, you know, the coal sacks that you get. I used to get a coal sack full of rose quartz chunks and pieces for about 25 Rand, which would be the equivalent back then of £2.50. I have a massive rose quartz lamp, huge rose quartz. People look at it and think, is that rock salt? No, it's rose quartz. Pick it up, it weighs a ton. But yeah, I understand that aversion to crystals if you had to study that. Right, I am going to head off. Hi, Billy, I didn't see you there. Lovely to see you. So, hi, badgers. Yes, hi, hedgehoggers. I've not seen my little hedgehog that I saw the other day. I've not seen him since, which is maybe a good thing because yeah, at least he must be sleeping because hedgehogs are not supposed to be out during the daytime. The mission evolved, but damn wake. I do love the mission. I really do. I met them. I've got my most of my vinyls and CDs are signed by them. So I've met them a few times. They're absolutely amazing. Yeah. So yeah, brilliant band. I think my favorite is Tower of Strength. That's my favorite track of theirs, especially the extended version, the one that goes on forever. Love it. It's great to work out to. I've got a cross trainer and I put that on and Beyond the Pale, and those two tracks together, it's about 15 minutes of just music. Right, I'm going to get going, guys. What is the time? It's 7:30. Wow, and I need to eat, and two of my cats still need feeding. I'm surprised they're not banging on the door, but the fatties have been fed already. So they were waiting. When I pulled the car back onto the drive, they were sat there on the drive and they moved out the way. Drives me mad that they sit on the drive and they know that the car is a dragon and will kill them. But yeah, can't do your version. Badgers, hedgehog, me guinea piggies, can't go with fellow pigs. A friend of mine has guinea pigs as well. They make such cute noises when they eat, don't they? I've seen some of those videos on TikTok and they're eating, like making these squeaky noises. So cute. I just love animals. And I can't watch, you know, the ads that... I can't watch them, the ads of the donkeys and the animals that are in distress, and I just can't. My heart breaks. I cry for animals and children. I really do. Anyway, guys, go and enjoy your evening. I'm going to hopefully watch Regan Elite and One Angry Pagan. Did you guys say it was 8 o'clock that it's on? Sorry, did you say it was? Yeah, Pete. It's just I just can't watch them. I just have to hide my eyes. And you know, if they're animals in a movie, I hide my eyes as well. Even though I know no animals are harmed in movies, but when I was watching War Horse, oh, just Black Beauty, yeah. So yeah, I'll probably see some of you guys on Reagan Elite's show, probably on Reagan Elite's show in the morning if he's going live, and probably the social. It depends on when I'm going to go for my run, because if it's cooler in the morning, I want to do a long run tomorrow. I want to go out and do a 10K. So, because my legs are feeling itching for a long stretch. So, yeah. But have a wonderful evening and stay blessed. Mwah. Bye, everyone.